Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Tuesday, July 21st, 9:38 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Getting a few minutes late start on this today. That won't stop our old pal Lexfire from popping in, I'll bet. Anywho, no, I've been messing with the green screen off camera before we started to try to get some things worked out. It's all about the lighting. I got a new lighting rig on the way that I'm hoping. Here, let's see how it looks. See, it just doesn't look right. And the problem is that the lighting is off. So there's nothing to be done until I can coordinate the lighting better in this place. In any event, one of the things that we are discussing today is, as we saw in the, oops, we don't want to do that, as we saw in the opening, Topher Creation Myth. This was an offering I put out in the early part of the 2000s. Revised it in 2003 just to clean up some inconsistencies and adjust it in a couple of ways for the advent of 3.5 off of 3.0 when it originally came out. This creation myth has always been a part of my setting, but it was more codified, especially with how it integrated with the rules during the 3.x era, so to speak. Morning, Grail Knight. Hobbsy, get your lighting sorted. No doubt, buddy. No doubt. What it is so true. There is a lighting issue here. I got one of those cool ring lights coming with the shading and filters and stuff. All that I'm using right now is this. Maybe that actually works. Look at that. That's not bad. I just turn off that damn fluorescent I had going up there, and it doesn't look too bad, actually. Let's leave it like that. Anyway, the point I was trying to make was that although the overall idea of this creation myth has been around since early in the setting, and again, I started this all in 74 when I started DMing with the original D&D. There were three of us really of our original group that started together in 74 that did some DMing. Two of us mainly. Mainly my buddy Jerry was a DM for a lot of our stuff, and he was the DM who kind of got dibs on Dragon and Dungeon Magazine and Judges Guild, and because he had more money. He had a regular. I had a paper route, but he had some other kind of a gig, and he was a year older than a lot of us, and had money to purchase more supplements and stuff. So that put me in a position where I was homebrewing right from the start. I mean, I could have dibbed on some things, but once he said he wanted the stuff like Judges Guild, and he ran Tegel Manor for us, and he kind of had dibs on modules, although he generally took modules and just stripped all the IP out of them and used the guts within his own campaign world. His main dungeon that we used to used to explore was known as Tantalus, based on the Greek myth. The character that I believe that's the one that standing in water with under a fruit tree. Every time it reaches for fruit, the branches edge up out of reach, and every time you lean down to get a drink, the water recedes, so it's never able to quench thirst, never able to sate hunger. On the other hand, called my underworld Tartarus. There was this idea. It's like the Greek underworld itself, right? Because there was a nice nebulousness of... Is that a word? Nebulousness? Let's say it is. There is a nebulous quality. There we go. To Tartarus in the mythology that says, oh, sure, the undead go there, and but it's sprawling. It's not like a hell where just you go to one place and this is what happens to you when you're there. It's this sprawling world where you could run into different people. Have taken trips in Greek mythology down into the underworld to get information from someone that has died, or to try to bring somebody back, or to go and get some object, various reasons. And so that made it a natural to be just, why just call your below ground stuff collectively the underworld, which works. Of course, Wizards uses dark instead of world, right? And that's a cool one, right? I don't know if that was an invention of Salvatore, probably, that writes maybe most of the Underdark stuff, or are we talking Greenwood? Are we talking... Somebody came up with the name, and it became a trademarked thing. So obviously other people can't use it. But it wasn't something I ever wanted to use anyway, because I didn't want... first of all, it came out later than I was running stuff anyway. Forgotten Realms is a late 1E, 2E invention, essentially, right? Books were starting to get written late 80s, maybe? Early 90s? I forget. What's the first one? Crystal Shard, maybe? That uses the Forgotten Realms? I don't even know. I'd have to look that up. But it's a setting that's not as old as mine. It's a lot more expansive. There's so many more people working on it over time, and people that are dedicated, or were at the time early on, dedicated to working on it all the time. So yeah, there's no way my own little Grimwald setting has, well, it's older. there's not as much to it. There never will be. There's a lot of fun stuff to it, but not that much, right? Anyway, it does have a creation myth. And the idea is that there were originally these original beings, and it's a little clunky. Some of it's a little clunky, I don't mind saying. The Supernals is kind of the pantheon of human-like, if you will, gods, and they were created out of the ancient gods called the Archaics. Primus of flame, Primus of aeriform, liquids and solids, although I've always felt this was a little... I didn't want to use the term earth, right? So once I didn't use Primus of earth, the rest of these felt... So I want to go fire, I'll go flame instead. And do I go water? How about all liquids? If solids and liquids, okay. Gases, aeriform kind of aeriform works. I don't know. Anyway, this has been around for almost 20 years in its current form. It could use a rewrite. I'll probably do that sometime in the not too distant future. And when I do, I'm going to change these. It's going to be fire, air, water, and stone. I think we will go stone rather than earth. If I'll be entertaining other ideas for that last one. But greetings and good morning, Dweller 8. You know, I saw Lexfire 22 was in the... Oh, and he's gone. Scared him off, maybe, huh? Grail Knight. Where's Red Barn Games been? There's somebody that we need to see. I gotta find out if they're in for a penny, in for a pound on the Gamehole Con. Ticky tick. Badgy boo. Anyhow, these are the archaics, and then you've got this sort of almost Greek or Roman pantheon of humanoid form gods. It all begins with Darlak, right? Lawful neutral, mother of all, most fervent, right? And then, of course, there are offsprings. Balthazar is sort of a side thing. Path of neutrality. He can be sort of the god of magic. Balthazar. Necrem, goddess of death. Neutral evil. And this was another thing. You were kind of looking to tie alignments to each of the different members of the Pantheon. For 3rd edition, it was sort of a necessity to pigeonhole them in this way. I don't think I would have done it if it wasn't something useful for the setting. And of course it has domains. Animal, destruction, law, magic, plant, trickery, lawful neutral for Darlak. Chaotic good, Topher for his consort. The idea of a hero, a king who is elevated to godhood to become the consort of Krem, the queen of the Supernals, which is the overarching name of the Pantheon. Chaotic neutral. Lawful good for Darien, the Guardian. I like that some of these gods can be also individually followed by, for instance, Darien is followed by the dwarves, and in that capacity is depicted as a dwarf. So, the different cultures can depict these gods of this pantheon in different ways. Lochliana, neutral good, lover of life, goddess of healing, right? Does good, is neutral. So we got lawful good, neutral good, and chaotic good in Topher, Darien, and Lochliana. You've got neutral evil, flat out neutral, and lawful neutral, and chaotic neutral. So there's no straight up chaotic evil god. In this sense, devils and demons and any evil creatures like that are chaos, mostly demons, I believe, are not tied to any of this. The archaics aren't tied to a single to a single alignment, although various alignments might favor one over another. So within that system, within that third edition system, those had to be broken down in that way. And like I said, they all need to have domains because domains are tied into the mechanics of spellcasting. So those needed to have that. Favored weapons was something that was included in the portrait of each of the members of the Pantheon. LexFire22, hey buddy, good to see you. And the idea was that these various mechanical effects allowed this Pantheon to be updated toward that system. You can see the artwork's a little rudimentary. This is early 2000s. This is early desktop publishing for me. We've got some clip art from various sources. Mostly Howard Pyle, right? Classic. Classic Brandywine School of Art. Late 1800s, early 1900s, so public domain for most of Howard Pyle's stuff. Maybe not all, maybe all. It's been dead a long time, too. Certainly died before 1950, so 70 plus years, right? I think it's pretty cool. I think the rest of it holds up. There's this whole mythos of how we begin with the archaics, and then there's a sort of a war, and then from them springs Darlak, and then she not being content with just the chaos of the archaics being and wanting more, wants to start creating beings and create some life, and so sort of disrupts the whole pattern of the chaos of the archaics, and eventually gives rise to, after subjugating the archaics, bending them all to her will so that she can utilize their power to make these other creations and to craft a world, is unhappy being alone, of course, and then gives rise to these other supernals to be part of a new pantheon. And this is good. It's good that the archaics are there for this whole idea of individuals that don't, druids in particular, let's say, and certain cultures wanting to be tied to the natural forces. I don't want to say the old gods, because the archaics aren't looked on as if they are gods. They are natural forces that interact with the world in ways that, without agenda, with a certain chaotic, fervor. Anywho, creation myths. They're a good thing to have. If you're setting something up for your own campaign world, I highly recommend starting there. It gives you an idea of what the people within the setting will believe or not believe. They don't have to be right. Anything you can create can be technically in-game out of the mind of individuals who walk the firmament. And they could just be purposefully making something up that isn't true, or they could just be believing something that was passed down to them that never was true in the first place. There's no reason why any of this, and I was never a fan of the statting up in first edition of deities and demigods. Once you put stats to a god, you're inviting them to be no better in-game than a monster. So, well, third edition required them to be tied to alignments and domains and mechanically part of the setting in that way. There was no reason why they needed to have strength, intelligence, wisdoms, armor class, hit points, hit dice. And I just decided for my own setting I was never gonna do that. There's an idea that this whole pantheon, there's always the possibility that none of this is real. Within the setting, there's always the possibility that this isn't really how things actually are. It's just a belief system. So, that helps, I think, with the whole mystique of what a setting is. If we can just, force through some sort of magical means, whether it's a wish or some other high-level magic, to bring a being into our presence that is part of a pantheon of gods, and to actually get into a scuffle with them, maybe even kill them, destroy them, however that works in your setting, then how is that creature actually? How is that entity any different from just a monster in your game? And you don't want that. You don't want your of gods and monsters. We say it like that because they're two separate things. They're not the same. Anyway, that's my feeling on it. So, any ideas, questions, whatever from the chat regarding creation myths? I've talked about how this one came into being. I've talked about how I intend to do some rewriting on it and whatnot. It's pretty good as is, but it's a little 3.xe flavored, and it doesn't need to be. I would just want to strip that stuff out, more or less, or rename it so it doesn't have the mechanical onus that, domains. Do we need, I don't know, do we need primary weapons or favored weapons, or what did we call them? Let's see. Favored weapons, they were called in 3rd edition. Like for Topher, the lance, the great axe, the warhammer. Those devoted to Darien generally choose some form of sword. It's a primary weapon that are well trained to defend and raise skills with armor and shields. Okay. So some of that stuff doesn't need to be stripped out, maybe just massaged a bit, reworded a little bit, so it doesn't, when reading it, evoke the specific 3.xe system. So we'll see what we can do with that. Anyway, I think we're just about done. I do want to say a few things about what else? Gary Gygax Day. right? Well, officially, Gary Gygax Day is July 27th. It's next Monday. And here, let's do this. Bing! Look at me in the dark. Yeah, we don't need that. Anywho, officially the 27th, next Monday, is Gary Gygax Day. It's the anniversary of his birth. Born in 38, so he would have been 82. And passed away in 2008 on March 4th. But this is the anniversary of his birth, and it's why we call it Gary Gygax Day. And it is why we play some wonderful RPGs on that day, kind of in his honor. Now, because it falls on a Monday, and because we are gamers and, in some cases, Americans, we can't just let it be one day. When it falls on a Monday or a Friday, we have to declare that the entire weekend is Gary Gygax weekend, right? I agree. And that means start your games on the 24th on Friday. Plan your games for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Grail Knight says, my group will be sporting our Hawaiian shirts for the game this coming Saturday in the spirit of Gygax. Right on. Totally. Gonna need some pics, my friend. I want to see. I would love to see some pictures. I don't know. Maybe you're too private for that, or your group is, and don't force anybody into a picture if they don't want them. But that would be cool if you got one or two and you want to take a few pictures, right? And anybody else got any games for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday? I know on Friday at least I'll be doing a little board gaming with Tom Wam. That won't be RPGing, but it's a virtual tabletop chance to game with an old school guy. But I like to do that whenever I can anyway. Maybe we'll get a chance to game with Jimmy Ward too on Friday. And then I don't know. Over the weekend, I've been trying to figure out about running something. It may be on Monday the 27th, that evening. I'll jump on to Wish You Had a Game to Run. I hear you, GG Games. Right on, man. Thanks for stopping in. The other thing to do is to work on your games. Work on your settings. Because, it's just as important to make sure, in the traditions that Gary would appreciate, to not just play, but to create. And certainly, if you don't have a game to play in, the next best thing is to work on the setting you have. I'm sure if we tried to think what would Gary do, it would be to spend time creating, if not playing. So, there you go. We'll talk some more as we get in toward the weekend, but I plan to throw together some impromptu Roll20 games. So, if any of you are going to be around on the weekend, and chances are maybe Monday night, then let me know next time we get into when we get closer to the weekend, we'll figure out what the schedule is. Hey, for the rest of the week, we've got setting discussion tomorrow, Grimwald mostly, right? Crafting and painting, building adventures, DM reviews, rules retrospective next Sunday, back round to Monday for the weekly news and giveaway, though that's going to be Gary Gygax Day. We'll do something special for that. I want to thank everybody who follows the channel, and thanks for chiming in. When you're in the chat stream, it gets you in on the weekly drawing. We've got a thanks going out to a new subscriber. Maybe I shouldn't mention the name. Anyway, YouTube's up to 61, so I appreciate that. And thanks for punching the like button too on there when you get the chance. We've got 108 followers in the channel too. That's also very good. I want to thank everybody. You guys have a great day, and we will be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for another OK Grognard show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.